welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
no
Woo!
longer in Spain. If you've ever wanted revolutionary change in your life, then do we have the Fasten Your Seatbelts, Dorothy, We're Not in Kansas Anymore show for you. Today we'll talk about stepping through portals, envisioning a new future, learning from the past, and how to step forward into your future without getting spun.
Ooh.
That, plus we'll talk about a Camino. Oh, we may have spinach. Integrating, opening up to the universe, crazy early winter, getting ready for skimo, working on our show, TV show that is, temporary, slowdown, hiring, more hiring, putting systems in place, the countdown to a ghostwriter, parental visit, breaking ribs, well, one that is,
Oh
surrendering,
no.
and more surrendering. What on earth is a zapping party? And what in the world a most harrowing auction has to do with anything? Welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine. All right, I go for 3 weeks, and what the heck is happening, Michael?
Everything.
Well, tell me about the most exciting stuff first. Tell me about the TV show.
Well, TV show, we're working with a producer in Hollywood. We're taking steps forward, so it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, and we're honing in on things. And so there's no pressure. There's no like, I've got to get this done right away. Instead, there's a kick back, relax, and allow a watching it unfold, which is really cool. It's something that's been taking place this fall, as a lot of things have temporarily like slowed down. Like we're usually booked out for 2 months for clients, and then all of a sudden we've got openings and we're going echo, 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 hello, hello, hello.
Yeah.
Universe is making space. And if you can recognize, hey, I'm stepping through a portal, something special is taking place, but the universe, I was watching recently a wasp that got stuck in the studio. Got in through a crack in the window or crack above, below, it's a log cabin, so it's not a cracked window, if you get me. But it's bouncing up against the ceiling trying to get out. And obviously it's having no luck with this.
Right.
I just wanted to scoop it up with a jar and take it outside and say, fly, be free, Simba. But sort of like us in our lives, when we're going, and we're bouncing our heads up against the ceiling, this giant angelic being, so to speak, the love that is, can't scoop us up because we won't stay still long enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so this fall, as I've watched lots of weirdness and plus synchronicities and discomfort, but confidence taking place, I've just known that tumblers are falling into place. Like we have, I talked about with you before, we've written automatic writing 2.5 times, and I got stopped by the universe about a year ago and was told 2020 is your year to write. Don't even worry about it in advance. And the easiest way for you to write is literally to be on the microphone, somebody to write it down and turn it into a book. One thing has led to the next, where publisher is flying out a ghostwriter in 2.5 weeks here, who's going to put me on a microphone and record the book and write it up from there.
Wow, excellent.
So we'll have, and we've got a second book, don't know why I'm choked up here. A second book we'll be recording at the beginning of January as well, so 2020 will be my book year.
Yay.
I'm seeing the inevitable unfolding of all this goodness if I don't chase it down.
So how did the book publisher even come to you?
Mitch Horowitz. So universe connected one guest who mentioned one thing, who mentioned another, who connected this, who connected that, and all of a sudden you're on the phone with the publisher. Wasn't me even looking for it. No chasing, no striving. It was flow. Now, I've wanted this for a long time. I write about it in my automatic writing, in our process we call the Woohoo 8. I definitely was looking for this to take place, but without attachment and without chasing it down.
Right. So you talked to someone who, like, did you even mention, like, hey, I'm interested in having the book transcribed for me, or like, how did that happen?
Well, Mitch Horowitz is a about a once a month guest on the show.
Oh, okay. So he comes very often. Okay.
Yeah, and he said, why don't we work on putting a book out together? And I said, that sounds phenomenal. And we're in the process of working on that. in that process, he goes, let me introduce you to my publisher. They may be interested in what you have to do. And so I got
You
in
mean
touch,
what you mean in terms of how you could work,
and
or?
in terms of other books,
Ah,
other
okay,
book
got it.
opportunities.
Okay, got it.
And so because I was open to Mitch, open to working on a book with him, he then opened another door, which opened another door, which got the, hey, we can record the book. How would you like to do that? They're
Wait,
going,
because you said that you wanted to record it. Did you say that you
but I
wanted
never
it?
said that to anybody other than
Oh,
wrote it down
wow.
in my writing each morning. But I never said I'm looking for a publisher because Jessica and I are going, it's not so much that we don't have time, it's how you allocate your resources.
Right, like just for people who aren't familiar with the book industry or the publish industry, of which you've already published 3 books, but it's actually finding a publisher to write a book isn't kind of like, hey, I just talked to Mitch and then I talked to Jit. Like, this is not a normal process. It usually involves months of writing, providing samples, providing information about, the social media channels that you have. Like, in a lot of
Everything.
ways, you have been queued up so well because you've done all this hard work with the channels, distribution channels that you have. But still, like, this is not normal. So when
No,
people hear this story, it's not like I can publish a book too. Just talk to like so and so, and this will happen. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary.
the gentleman who's coming out who's going to do the ghostwriting had was one of the head people for Nightingale Conant and all of their audio recordings for decades. He's the ghostwriter for Brian Tracy, for Joe Vitale, for many really big authors.
Yay! So he knows how to do this well.
He knows how to do this really, really
Okay,
well.
so then the TV show, it was 3 weeks ago. You told me that you had run into someone. Was it during the Nobel laureate thing, or what? You had run into someone who'd mentioned this idea of
Well,
doing a
I've
TV
run
show.
into a whole bunch of people now who've
Okay.
mentioned, and I've just watched this lattice work come together,
Okay.
and it's been also a bunch of synchronicities that have taken place with no worrying, striving, pushing, or trying. Yes, we came up with what's called a log line and a one-page description.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I may have to run and get water, which is almost unheard of, but hold on here. Excuse me. But it has taken place out of the blue as well, meaning I teach people with manifestation, it's a two-step dance. One, you write about it. Two, you step forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I am stepping forward by mentioning it, by doing the work, but I'm not chasing a darn thing. Doesn't mean I'm not working hard. We have brought 3 new people on board since the summer, and with training people, getting systems in place, I would say we're working harder in a sense, maybe more hours, but a little bit more kickback and relaxed, going, it's just going to work out. I'm not going to chase it. Even if I'm up late at night, I'm totally going to relax into this thing.
That's great.
And it's been working out. It hasn't all been easy. I joke about last week I was out for a run. I tripped. I didn't actually fall, but I brought my knees up to try to catch myself, and my knee went into my chest, and I cracked a rib, as if you got kneed in the chest by
Wait, I don't
somebody
even
else. I got
understand how one
kneed in
does
the
this.
chest by myself.
So you're running, you're about to
And you
fall,
trip
and then you
forward.
trip forward.
You bring your knee up to get your foot out beneath you.
Why did you bring your knee up to get your foot out beneath you?
Well, how else are you going to get your feet out in front of you unless you bring your foot up off of the ground?
Oh, so that you actually so you can actually bring your foot up so it can land versus
Bingo.
kind of like be stuck in a limb or whatever it was. That was kind
Yep.
of, so that was the foot that was kind of beginning to trip. So that
Yeah,
was one that
I
tripped
caught
you.
there was on the side of the trail, there was, park rangers or somebody at some point had cut off a tree that was starting to grow up into the trail, and there was a stub sticking out about an inch or two.
Ah, okay. So you caught your foot on that, then you put your knee up, and you broke your rib. Oh my God, I'm not
I
laughing.
lean
That's like
forward
awful.
as my leg goes up, and there went the rib. And I said, was I being present? No, I feel I was present. Was I in a state of prayer? Yes, I was in a state of prayer. What does this mean? Jessica's like, well, it means slow down more. I'm like, okay, I'll buy that. Go into automatic writing. What does it mean? And I got focus on your core. Focus on your core. You'll have more stability, more strength. But spiritually, focus on your core right now. So I've been redoubling my meditation practice, trying to get even clearer of mind. I will be, as this heals, doing more core work, sort of like Rocky, so that I could, take a hit in the ribs or something. But it's really, although it's been uncomfortable, universe tends to give me signs and symbols through the body. It was a very kind and gentle thing. I didn't even fall. So, if you fall, you hurt your wrist,
When
you
you
hit your
crack your
arms.
ribs, like, so what is the recovery for cracking your ribs? Like, do you just like, you don't have a sling, like, what do you do? Like, just wrap, do you have like a bandage wrapping your
I
ribs?
tried wrapping it. It didn't feel better. It felt worse. It is scream a little bit when you get in bed at night. Scream if you try to get out of bed at night.
Oh no.
And you jog very, very gently or lightly. The first 4 or 5 days I couldn't jog. Most injuries hurt most like on day 3. Obviously there's the acute injury itself, which wasn't too bad. In fact, my adrenaline was still going. I cut my run a little bit short, but I made it
My
back.
brother.
Well, it's out on the trails. It's not like I'm going to go hitchhike from the local squirrel
Right. Yeah, that's
and say,
true.
take me back.
Yeah.
But ribs tend to keep hurting and get more and more and more. So mine peaked around day 5 or 6 and has been very kind in that it's coming back down the other side.
How long ago did you break your rib?
That would have been Wednesday, 9 days ago.
Wow.
Days ago.
Michael, I leave here for 3 weeks and like, look what happens. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
what can you do? But
Wow.
it's just what you can do is slow, go into your writing, go into your morning pages, go into a practice and say, what's going down on? What can I learn from here? Am I out of alignment? It's interesting. Right after that rib, we had a friend visit who's a kinesiologist. He does muscle testing to work on your body. He worked on an energetic block, similar work that I do with people, that you do with people as well. Worked on an energetic block he found from both 3 years old, having to do with my mom, and in gestation, in vitro, I guess, or in utero, having to do with my mom. And that was like the last tumbler to fall. And like, I've just watched outrageous goodness take place.
After
So
that work.
like nearly full on coaching. Nine people signed up for one-on-one strategy sessions with me. This free 15-minute session to see about coaching on the same day.
Wow.
Just the
Wow, that's a
energetic
lot.
blocks just fell away. And so you look at this, whether it's the rib, whether it's anything, and we'll tell you about it in a minute. I want to hear about the Camino, but we had really what I would call the most harrowing auction experience in the world. Well, ours anyway. I'm sure there's more harrowing out there.
What auction were
But
you part of?
our own company,
What?
our original company is called Run Bear.
Okay.
We're barefoot running, so everything falls under Run Bear. Well, we went onto our Run Bear website on September 27th, 28th.
This recently,
Yep.
this year.
And it wasn't there. And well, actually, first off, we had our email blowing up. And I'm not sure if I mentioned that on another show. Our email system was completely
You did
blowing
tell
up.
me, like, you're like, I don't know what's happening, CJ. Yeah,
And
your
our
whole life
email
is falling
system
apart.
goes through Run Bear. And so we got on Run
Uh,
Bear and found Run Bear wasn't there. And it says this website is being parked by GoDaddy. And we're
Parked
like,
by GoDaddy? Wow.
yeah. We're like, meaning it's for sale.
What?
And so
What?
we reach out to we had a 10-year URL, and we reach out to the company who we bought the 10-year URL through, and it says, we have gone out of business as of March. If you have an upcoming renewal, you must get in touch with us before we close our doors on March 22nd.
Of last year or this year?
Well, March
Coming.
22nd, 2019.
Oh no.
They went out of business. Our 10-year renewal came up on September 22nd. It was an auto renewal. They'd have all their information, but they're out of business. They couldn't renew it because they're out of business. We couldn't renew it because we had gotten it through then. We even went through ICANN, the world governing body of URLs, and they said, sorry, only the original host can renew it. We showed them the receipts. We showed them everything. They're like, we know you say that it's yours, but you went through them. You need to speak with them. Spoke with GoDaddy about it, and they said, well, you either need to have a court case and subpoena us, or you need to subpoena the company that's no longer in business. Working with the lawyers are like, and we got notice on GoDaddy, this site is going up for auction, going up for auction. That's my father-in-law who's visiting. We're buying him oxygen after the show because we're up at 7,000 feet. Yes. But it's going up for auction on like October 24th or something. And the attorneys are saying you don't have time to even get a court case to get a subpoena before it's going to be sold to somebody else. And so we found ourselves last week watching an auction go from $12 for our site up to $100 one day, up to $200, up to $400, up to $800.
All they're buying is the URL.
They're buying our business URL.
Right. Okay.
And I say our business because there would be some major trademark thingy if somebody started to use our URL up to the day the day that we're supposed to bid on it. And in advance, I'm testing by buying other URLs and making sure I'm set up so that I can bid properly and so I can bid at a high amount and testing all these things. It's up to $1,000 half an hour before the bidding ends.
No, and then what happens is like someone scoops in right before the minute before.
So what's interesting about this, I was on the phone with GoDaddy that morning, understanding about it, making sure we're qualified. So it went from $1,000. I think I got a bid in then, and it went up to I didn't bid until there was 13 minutes left. I didn't want to go the last second eBay swoop in because I just don't know how the system works.
Right.
And even though I spoke with GoDaddy, who knows? So the difference between a GoDaddy auction and an eBay auction is you bid an auction at the last second at eBay, chances are you're win it.
You're going to get it, right.
You bid an auction in the last 5 minutes in GoDaddy, they add more time.
What? What the heck?
I go from on a massage table getting work from our dear friend David Berglund, who, if you ever get a chance to see this guy, he's cleanmyhumancomputer.com, I believe is his URL, but you could type in David Berglund. He's on the East Coast, so he's working on me. I hop off of the table 20 minutes before. We place that bid at 13 minutes. Goes from 1,000, we place a bid, somebody else brings it to 1,200, and then we place another bid, or how did it go? It goes to 1,200. There's like a whole bunch of auto bidding going on at this point.
Wait, so like someone has like auto bidding, meaning like I'm going to bid up to 1,500. So if you do 1,200, it goes 1,300. Then you say 13. So it's just automatically bidding in increments of 100 over whatever you're bidding.
Yeah, it was starting at $5 below 1,000. Then at some point, then it goes to 10, then 20, and then it was at 25. And so we placed a bid at like 1,035. Somebody else placed another bid, and our system auto bidded and got to $1,200. Okay, we've got it at $1,200, and we're 5 minutes out, we're 4 minutes out, we're 3 minutes out, we're 2 minutes out. It goes to $1,600. It adds 5 minutes. We're 4 minutes out, we're 3 minutes out. You've got to understand, this is our business. You're breathing in and out. Your nervous system is on. It is like, it's one of the most emotional experiences I've had of my life, of just holding your breath. 1,600, went to 1,800, went to 2,000, went to 2,400, and each time it adds 5 minutes. So you're going, oh, thank God we've got it. It'll be over in just a minute. Boom. Oh, thank God we've got it because we've set a high auto bid price. It'll be over in just a minute. Boom. And then it's up at $3,000. And we're looking at each other and we're going, what do we do? Eventually it'll be over what we had placed as a cap.
Right.
I don't want to deal with this from an emotional perspective, but it's our business. Where do we go with this? And it went up, I think, to 3,100. Oh, it started going up. Whoever was bidding against us was bidding now, waiting till the last second and bidding in $50 increments, saying maybe this is as far as they'll go. And it just kept on extending 5 minutes.
Oh my God, how many?
And
Were you there
extending
for like an hour? How long were you there for?
6 or 7 extensions.
That's pure torture.
We got it at $3,300. Jessica said afterwards, I was doing every exercise. I'm putting a bubble of love and light. I'm asking for help from the archangels. I'm doing Ho'oponopono. I'm sending all the love I can. Jessica went mama bear, and she goes, I hope it's okay. I energy went in there and went, and pushed the person back and said, this is not yours.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she was doing it as a, we love you, but this is not your site. You should not be bidding on this thing. Even that was here to serve us. And that meant that this last month, I watched how much bandwidth, because it was on average 2 hours a day, speaking with an attorney, contacting GoDaddy and GoDaddy's team and their secondary team, and the SaveMyURL.com and ICANN. I think it all shifted after that took place. The flow got back in place. But we had to step through that portal.
Wait, but you mean so after Jessica was just like, don't touch it. Like, is that when things shifted, or did it?
Well, everything shifted after the auction. Can I say whether it was her saying don't touch it anymore and the auction ended and we got it? I have no idea. I have to believe that was the price we were supposed to pay for some reason. Maybe to recognize its value, maybe because that money will magically appear. I don't have a clue. But after that, the coaching calls started coming in. Other calls started coming in. All this stuff took place, which is to say we got the most condensed version of your Camino possible, of having to walk through something. And if you're listening and you're doing something where your belly is flipping in two, but you know you have to do it and you just breathe into it, there was nothing we could do. We were like helpless watching the price of our own site going up in front of us.
That is so. But what's interesting about it is that two things is that one, somehow, I mean, you're no longer doing Run Bear. It was what you were doing.
Yeah.
And you're still holding on to it, which
Exactly.
is kind of interesting to me.
Well, I went
Um,
into automatic writing and I asked about that. And they said, you can absolutely let go. Don't worry, you can let go. And what Jessica said is, well, first off, all of our company checks and everything are Run Bear. So it's probably not a good idea from there to let go of it. But also, she goes, Run Bear has a different significance now, doesn't it? And she's like, doesn't it? And I'm like, yeah. Actually, we talk about the open-hearted warrior all the time. We're talking about running shields down, about running kind of naked bear, running more connected, not to the earth as literally, but more of a shamanic sense of being at one with nature.
oh, run. Oh, but it's run, not one. It's Run Bear.
No, but it is Run Bear, but the essence of
Right.
it is that connection to nature. And she said, we will be actually heading more in that direction. We both are calling in shamanic energy, calling in teachers to guide us to learn more about the indigenous ways.
I see. Got it. Okay.
And I'm like,
Interesting.
okay, that's a new take. All right, I will go for it. Because until then, I was like, no, we
Just
let
let
it
it
go.
go. Yeah. Wow. That. Okay. So there are two more things on your list. Earth is a zapping party.
Oh,
And
we've got to,
did we
yeah,
cover that?
no, we've got several more on the list.
Okay.
Um, since our friend David was coming out here and he has this device, I may have mentioned it before
Right.
to you, where you put it on scars and you zap
Yes.
yourself and it gets rid of the scar. And more importantly, it helps reconnect your energetic channels.
Right.
So when you do surgery, it actually affects the basically we'll call it the ley lines of your body.
Right.
And we were finding it to work. We found out he's coming back and he needed to pick up the device. And so for about 2.5 weeks, as a bonding experience, Jessica and I are sitting on the couch each night before bedtime. She's got electrodes on her. This sounds really kinky. I don't mean it that way. I've got electrodes on me. And we're zapping ourselves.
You mean connecting, like, so you had major
It has
surgery in several
multiple
areas,
channels.
yes.
So I'm working on all of my major surgical sites. She was working on a foot that's been swollen since literally she broke it the day after we got married, which has significance there. And she has some scars from a fall many years ago at the gym, and so she's working on that. And so we had this kind of PT bonding time
Wow. Wow.
with
Where
this
is this
device.
guy David located?
Virginia Beach.
Oh gosh, so someone has
So,
to go
and
to
he does,
Virginia Beach to go
well,
get
he
the
does
work.
a lot of work out in Colorado. He visits Colorado a lot. He visits Indianapolis a lot. He goes to Florida some, goes to North Carolina some, Virginia Beach. Those are the main places that
Okay,
he travels to.
okay, because I'm going to be in your neck of the woods, but not Aspen. I'm going to be in Boulder on the 17th, I think.
So very cool. That's about 4 hours
I
from
know, so
here.
we probably won't see each other because it's too
Yeah,
far away. Okay, but so if he's ever
but
in
that's
that area,
cool.
I know. So,
He,
but well,
he
then,
is in that area, but he won't be back there till January, I believe it is.
okay, all right. But what's the story with the weather, though? Too, like if I wanted to come visit, is it snowing there now?
The snow is melting a little bit today. It has been just super early winter. We got somewhere between, well, we had on the ground yesterday morning between 8 and 10 inches.
Eight to
And
10 inches on the. Is that typical?
no, and we had 2 mornings ago, it was 3 mornings ago, it was -5 below zero. And then yesterday morning, it was -1, I guess, below zero. And today it was like
Wow.
11 degrees.
And you're
It
wearing a
is
short sleeve shirt? I don't understand.
Well, this time of the day, I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt. When you saw me earlier today, since it's a beautiful log cabin, that was not the case. But I did find, because I've been, AKA or a la Wim Hof, I run around without a shirt in all sorts of temperatures. I've been shirtless into the upper 30s. I went out yesterday in the lower 30s with human clothing on, and I was too freaking hot.
Too hot?
Way too hot. Way
Wow. So the
too
Wim
hot.
Hof stuff is actually. So when you're breathing, you're doing a Wim Hof breathing, like the.
I don't, it's just, when I say a la Wim Hof, what I mean is talks about our natural state of being is one where we were not addicted to 70 degrees or 68 degrees. And so over the years, I've adapted the body, and it takes time to go from summer to winter, but adapted the body to handle a greater range. Now, this fall, I was doing my cold showers. Now I'm not. I just go out with a lot less clothes on when I'm going for a hike or a run. It boosts the immune system. It gives you more energy. It does make
Interesting.
you clearer of mind.
Wow.
So,
Okay. So, and then are you getting, is that part of getting ready for skimo?
yeah, I'm trying to stay a few months ahead of the game. Last year's transitioning, not so much to winter sports, but to spring sports broke me because
Right.
I wasn't ready for that. So this year, I'm like running up all the hills I can find, getting in
Wow.
deep snow, running without snowshoes on, and doing what I can to get ready for this sport where you ski uphill with a skin on the bottom of your ski. It gives you traction. It's like having carpet on the bottom of your ski. You peel off the carpet, it's called moleskin, and then you swoosh down. And so I'm doing a lot of
So
training
it
for
turns
that right now.
into like a ski. So it moves from kind of like a
It's downhill
moccasin.
skis. They're
Yeah.
downhill skis with a fuzzy, furry bottom that peels off. And so
Wow.
you get to the top, and that furry bottom is unidirectional. It's sort of like Velcro in one direction. It'll slide forward and then grips. Slide forward and grips. So you slide your feet forward up the hill.
Yeah.
Then you peel off these skins. You can look it up online. Type in Skimo. You peel off these skins, and now you have a downhill ski, and you just point yourself down the hill and go.
Wow. Oh, so this is a new thing then for people who want to get the workout from going up. So you're like getting this incredible aerobic workout from going up,
Yep,
and then you're basically peeling it down, and then you're just getting like a skiing experience.
perfect. Exactly.
Okay. Wow.
And,
Wow.
and
So
it's
that's
it's
really
everything I hoped for in a sport because I used to run uphill with my snowshoes, and it's hard to get to run down fast on snowshoes. And I never like chairlifts anymore because I just prefer to be running up and down the hill. And so this allows me to run up the hill, like you said, and then go have, shoosh down the hill, carve a whole bunch of turns. And then if you want, throw the skin back on and run back up the hill a couple times.
wow. How many times did you run up into? Because the hills where you live aren't like the hills where most people live. Like how many thousand feet are you climbing up when you're going up?
I'm climbing on average, maximum about 2,000 feet. I don't think I can really get much more than that yet. 2,000 feet an hour. And I'll go
Wow.
for an hour to a couple hours. The longest I've gone is maybe 3 hours of up, down, all different areas around the ski area.
Wow,
I'd
Michael.
like to do more
Wow.
this year. It's fun and I'm fast at it. Uh,
Wow.
in past years, last year when I got the equipment, I said, I want to race.
This needs to be an Olympic
Well,
sport, don't you think? It's
they're
kind of a fascinating.
petitioning. They are petitioning, and it's very, very big in Europe.
It
And
is. Yeah, it seems like a brilliant thing to do because there's some places that you probably could ski but don't have a lift, so you need to go skimo
yeah,
in order to go to those remote places. Oh, that's super exciting. Is Jessica doing skimo with you too?
so she's a very beautiful, cute, somewhat quiet in public Asian girl. Until you get her in, she uses what's called a split board. It's a snowboard that has a seam in the middle and splits into two pieces like skis. And the bindings turn, and you can use them like skis and go up the hill. Um, and so she has her split board set up. And last year, when I watched her doing her split board setup, she swears more than a sailor. I hate this stupid son of a beep, 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 beep. How'd you talk me into beep, 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 you stupid beep, 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 beep. That's her opinion of the sport, CJ.
I see. So you can actually put this skin on anything. So she was putting on her split board and doing. So
Yeah,
she's not really interested in the
skin
skimo.
up on the split board, and then you put the boards back together. It had a couple quick releases. You peel off the skins, and you can snowboard down. And oh my God, I've never seen it. It's like taking a fish that I don't know. It spent its whole life in the fridge. We'll say
Yeah.
taking the fish or the freezer and throwing it into water, and all of a sudden it swims. Seeing her snowboard is a work of art.
Wow.
It's so incredibly graceful and beautiful and amazing. The going up, though, if she ever were to do it again, we'd have to get her the lightweight ski setup to go up, and she wouldn't be able to snowboard down.
Yeah.
But the snowboard setup is heavy, it's clunky, it was ugly.
Right.
We
It was
did it
because of
probably
the right. I see. Because the snowboarder's really heavy, whereas you're like taking skis, so you can kind of go up there gracefully. Where she's
really
just like having these like gigantic clodhopper
trucks.
feet. Clunk, clunk, clunk. Wow. Oh, how funny. Wow. Wow. So then, and tell me more about the TV show then. So is it, so you're going to LA and you're going to film it soon?
Not sure how soon that all takes place, but I want to go back to the skimo for just a minute because we're talking about going through portals. 2 weeks ago, it was still in the 70s here,
Wow.
and it
What?
was 70s until 2 or 3 days before it snowed. I think it was mid 60s the day before it snowed, and I'm going not ready, not ready. Please, not yet. Please let it all melt. I want warmth. Give me because it's just stayed snowing here last year
Yeah.
freakishly into June. So it's been a
Wow.
4 month summer, no fall.
Right.
Going through a portal, it's a tough squeeze, and you go, oh, please no, oh, please no, oh, please no. And then yesterday, I'm running around in the snow going, oh, I've transitioned. It's all good. I don't need any more, please, more snow. Give me the snow now. I don't need any more warm days. Just bring in the snow. We all have this human nature that we fight against the inevitable narrow squeeze that's coming, for which there's goodness on the other side. Sometimes we can see it, often we can't.
Right.
But if we just allow into it, we can whine and complain a little bit. All of a sudden we come out the other side and we're like, wow, that wasn't so bad, and I actually enjoy it here.
Right. You went through the transition pretty quickly.
Next up on the TV show is inventory of connections of who the first guests are that we want on the show, and what the first 10 episodes will look like.
So you have to film the 10 and then you ship,
Nope,
then you,
I don't think we'll have to. My guess on how it works is he is going to bring us. We're floating two different ideas. We pick the idea that he feels will. It's fascinating. I didn't know about this. He said, you don't make money from your TV show. And I'm like, well, is it like a calling card? Like you don't make money from a book, you don't make money from the show, for instance, directly. And he said, no.
sponsors.
Yes, you need to line up your sponsors in advance. So when you know what sponsors you're going to have, you take your package, you bring it to a Netflix, to an Amazon, to a CBS, to whomever. He goes, I can get you in front of everybody tomorrow. Actually, no, his exact thing. I can get you everybody in front of everybody in 1 second. You have your package together, then you bring it to them. and you have it nice and tight and concise, and they can see how they're going to make money off of it, how it's going to be filmed, how all of this comes together.
Right. So you have to do a couple demo reels, so to speak, demo interviews. So
In the
people,
old days, you did.
yeah.
With the right person, with the right connections, if it's nice and tight, you won't even need that. We're going through it the same way that the books appeared. We're
Okay.
going through a
So this
total
person
flow
is
method.
going to be doing like 10 sample shows in order to
No,
do this demo, or just one?
he will know what it is. We'll have it down on paper. We'll have a nice tight pitch.
Okay, right. So he's
And
like giving 10 different samples so you can figure out like what the heck is this? So you're going to do 10 different
well,
scenarios to see.
we're going to look at, you want to have your season basically planned out,
I see. Okay,
so
got
that
it.
if they ask details, who you're going to have on, what's it going to be, who you're going to have on, what's it going to be, who you're going to have on, what's it going to be.
Right.
And if you can tell them, already talked with this person, they're already committed, already talked with this person, they're already committed, then it is a lot more viable of a product. You don't want to come to say, well, we might be able to reach out to so and so, but
Right. I see. Got it. So you, if once you have a tight package saying like we've got these sponsors, this is a sample of the show, you can watch it, and here are the
we
nine
won't even
guests.
have the sample. That's the one piece. We don't even need the sample.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because we're going to one of the top people in Hollywood already.
Okay. Got it.
And so he's got street cred. He's got the credentials where you can just
Got it.
call him up and say, "Here's what I've got." Give him the pitch. Do you want it? Yes,
Wow.
great. Don't want it? On to the next one. On to the next one.
Wow. Okay.
Coming
So
from
this is a guy
place
who
of flow.
does this kind of
Yeah.
work for pitching
Yes.
shows.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my God. And you found this guy from how?
So I'll go there later, but
Wow. Okay.
but
So
but
have
it
we
is.
have we covered all your stuff?
I
I
think
think
we've
so.
I think we've covered all the stuff. Let's see. Have we covered it? We've got to get to your Camino and integrating and opening up to crazy,
No, I wanted. I
opening up to
figured
the
we just talked
universe.
because it's going to be hard to integrate. The Camino is very different than the kind of stuff that you're going through. But I wanted to catch up to see what you're up to. So I figured I'd just carve off the rest of the session for the Camino stuff.
I guess the rest of it is just the discomfort of putting systems in place right now that we're doing for the
Yeah,
show,
yeah,
and how that discomfort is again a portal that you get to walk through.
yeah.
So, like, we're really working on getting Jessica to step back from things, and when the time is right, which is very shortly, we're going to go for kids again.
Hmm.
So, but we need to give her
Wow.
the space to do that. Bringing people on board, you think, oh, we'll bring new team members on board. We'll
No,
have
it's a
more time.
ton of work.
No, you have less time now.
You do. It's a ton of work. I just, I, anyways, I'll tell you later, but I had just hired an intern, hopefully, and then something happened, and I mean, hopefully I've gone through three interns so far. So I'm hoping like the one that I have is going to stay. So it's hard to find people to do this kind of work that are going to be like the really competent people. They come and they go, like they're young people and they come and they go and they come and they go. So it's hard. But if you have your training, what happened is the very first time I had the person write down a training manual. And so
Smart.
that piece, and I was like, your job now that you've done this is to write a training manual. Then the second person came and I was like, what's missing from this training manual? She updated it. And now I just handed it off to this third person. She's like, okay. And there's only one thing that's missing off that training manual. But once that's done, then there'll be like a training manual. So I don't have to like sit and show and log in and do all these different things. So I know that you're going through this process, and if that helps at all, hopefully it will. Have them write down a training manual so you don't
I
have to.
believe
But
so.
anyways,
That's exciting, and eventually we're now on Unity Church Radio, and we're working on getting systems in place for that. And so what that looks like, everything's about how do you go from the uncomfortable to the more comfortable by putting those systems in
yeah, you
place.
just, if you write it down, the best thing that I wish I had done if I were to do it all over again is, and you know how to do this, is do videos. Here's how you loaded it, and then just have a video, and then the person just watches the video. That would probably be. But then, there's like login information that you can't put in the video. Like there's all sorts of stuff like that, and then there's questions. But I would say it takes a lot of time. Like yesterday, actually, I just got back from Camino, from traveling last Monday, And I spent one day just going through. I had cleaned out my whole email, and like, of course, I've been gone for 2 months, so there's like 2 months of emails. And I told people, please do not send me any clients, but some people did, and so I have like all these people to get back to. And then, but I did set up Acuity so that I have a scheduling system now, and I'm praying that
Very
because I know
nice.
you had told me that you actually have like some type of scheduling
We're
system.
using Schedule Once. We had looked at switching to Acuity, and there's a Japanese named one that we looked at this fall as well. But we're sticking with a Schedule Once for now. But yeah,
It makes it
it is.
much easier.
In fact, I need to record videos potentially this weekend. Some of the movie magic. If you're listening to the show and you've listened to a bunch, I get on the show with a guest, and they go, "Well, how's my sound?" And I go, "Would you mind tapping on the mic for me for a moment?" This happens 99 out of 100 times.
Hmm.
And they tap on the mic, and there's no sound.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm like, well, you're coming out of your laptop mic, not out of the headset mic.
Right.
And they're like, well, nobody else. I've been on 1,000 podcasts, and nobody else has mentioned it. And I'm like, yes, we're shooting for a higher level here. Just because
Right.
they didn't notice that your real mic wasn't on. I'm very,
Right.
very kind and polite, but we end up taking 10, 15, 20 minutes to set up their mic because it's Skype, and then they have to reboot and this. Long and short of it is we get to record videos to make it easier for them, because when a guest is stressed out about their mic, my job, your job, is to make a guest as relaxed as we can.
Yeah. I've
And
had
when we're
times when I'm calling and they're like, my son is here and trying to turn on Skype, but I can't figure. I'm like,
bingo,
oh my God.
exactly. And then they're spun before the interview. And our job, and if you're listening to this show, because it means you're awake and aware, all of our job is to become an anchor for those around us who either aren't as awake and aware or are spinning due to life circumstances. And so when they're going, oh my God, my son's trying to connect, you know you're going to have some heavy duty energetic work to do to get them grounded, or your interview is going to be a wild ride.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been able to like manage that pretty well, but I've had pretty good luck, I guess I would say.
So,
Yes.
so we get to make some videos.
Good. Send them to me.
All
I'll
right.
send it to my
So
clients.
I did my own version of the Camino in 2004. Was it 5,000 miles on a bicycle in 40 days, solo and unsupported, and it was about 125 miles a day. So it was
Yes.
8 to 12 hours of riding a day, and lots of crying, and and then tromping around Congress in my cycling gear in the first day, talking to congressmen and senators and all of the Senate. It would be congressmen and congresswomen and senators, both persuasions or all persuasions. And then I came back to the real world, and the best way to describe it is integration is a bitch, CJ. How has your Camino been, and how has your integration been?
Well, first of all, I think I said this to you beforehand. Like the Camino happens before you actually go on the trip. If the Camino is your way of life, you're already traveling your way of life before the trip. And so I did a ton of training, both physically, packing the right thing, even scheduling every hotel down to the microsecond. Like, so every single day was scheduled. And I would have to say all the physical training actually ended up working to my benefit because I had no major injuries. I had blisters, but they were small and they went away like with a little bit of Compeed, they went away. Where some people literally had blisters on their blisters. I mean, this was horrific to see. I mean, like blisters like the size of my nostril, like big blisters.
Well,
And then they'd have blisters on top of their blisters and like wrapping their feet up. So which all have to do with getting your feet prepared, making sure your shoes and your socks are all kind of working in an integrated fashion. So I had kind of figured all of that out 4 months beforehand. And then like packing, I have to say that there was like very few things that I missed. I missed one fleece jacket, but that's because I didn't really know the weather would be so cold at the tail end of the trip. But like everything I packed, I used, and everything I packed, I love. So all that stuff where I was like, am I a crazy person? Like I can't even tell you how many shirts and shoes and, things I tested out before actually leaving, but all that testing helped in making sure that I had a light backpack that worked. So, like, that's the virtues of planning. And I think I talked to you during the trip how I booked every single thing out because I had 30 days to do the walk.
Yep.
I didn't assume that I would need to take a break. I didn't really look carefully at the number of miles I'd have to walk every single day. And so that, and then I also didn't realize that when you're traveling alone, it's you don't the first day I walked by myself, but then you meet people, and then those people, and then what happens is you're walking and traveling, you meet people who walk at the same pace and talk at the way in which you like to talk. And so
You
the
found
first
your tribe.
yeah, you're trying to find your tribe, but it's like who is walking at the same pace and has the similar rhythms to your life, like likes to take breaks, the same number of breaks that you want, the same length of breaks that you want to take, talks but doesn't talk too much so that you can focus on the nature around you. And so the first part of it is kind of just like finding your tribe and finding out what you want because you really don't know what you want because you've never walked 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, with not 12 hours, 12 miles a day or 14 or whatever, which basically amounts to walking with someone for 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, so one person, 5 hours a day, how many people could you talk with or be silent with or do something 5 hours, 6 hours a day? So, that was kind of interesting, just trying to like how much alone time do I want, how much group time I want. So I kind of figured that out. And that's kind of like your Camino too, right? It's like figuring out what your natural preferences are and what kind of things you like doing. But when I did that, I realized that the way that you meet people is through staying at these hostels. They're called albergues, but you stay at these albergues, and that's how you meet people, and that's what most of the people are doing. So when you're staying at hotel rooms, which from reading the Facebook posts, I assumed everyone did, it's not what everyone else is doing, so you're kind of out of the flow of the whole experience. So as I talked to you, I canceled every single hotel room, which had some financial implications, but mostly just a lot of time booking, like canceling, booking all this stuff. So I canceled all of those things and I stayed at albergues, which I did for the remainder of the trips as much as I could. And then you have to fight things like bed bugs, which
Bed
which
bugs are real, huh?
bed bugs are real. I talk to you when my friend got fumigated. Like I think I talked to you at one of those times when my friend got fumigated because he had bed bugs. And it's so common. Either people have them, they don't. Who
Yep.
knows who gets them and who doesn't. I had no bed bugs. I had no bites. And I was sleeping, next to this guy. Not like literally, but you know what I mean? You're sleeping in hostels and the
Yep.
bed is
Your
like,
bunks are right by each
yeah, the
other.
bunks, yeah, you're sleeping in bunk beds, and the person is probably like 5 feet away from you, and I'm walking with him every day, so I didn't get bed bugs, but he got bed bugs. Um, so then I went through all of that. So the only way in which I planned was I booked too much and didn't allow the journey to unfold, and then I canceled all that allowed it to unfold. And halfway through, I was in Lyon, and I was like, I'm really tired. I've been walking for I don't know how many days, like 20 days. I think it was 20 at that point, 15 or 18 days, and I have another 12 to go. And I thought I just need to take a day off, and I'll just like find some way of catching up. I don't like. I'll just like drive a taxi through a town. Next time I get to a big town, I'll just drive to the next town, and I'll be caught up. But the problem is if you do that, you lose your posse because they're still walking, and then you have to like go and make new friends and do this whole thing all over again. Because walking by yourself is nice, but it's for me at least it was really like one you sometimes miss the signs. So there was that one time I missed the signs in Pamplona. It was like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes outside of where I needed to go.
Wow.
So I actually traveled with this group, but they wanted to go in like I had to play catch up somehow because I was like 15-mile deficit and still wanting to make walk the whole Camino. So in the last 9 days, there was one day in which a friend of mine said, "Hey, I think we have to like walk like a 20-mile walk," and I would do it now because it's mostly flat. So we walked 20 miles, which I wasn't expecting, but I thought, okay, but I want to walk with my friends, so I walked 20 miles, and then the next day it was all uphill. It's called Osabrio, and it was just this slog, like everything was uphill the entire way, and it was hard, like really steep incline uphill for the whole day. Like you're basically going for 5 hours uphill the whole time. And then, so that was the next day, and that was like, I think 14, 16 miles. And then thereafter, I walked like 18 to 20 miles for 9 days straight. Yeah, like 18,
Wow.
20, 20. And I didn't think it was possible, but I was at one point I was walking at the tail end. I was walking with a 19-year-old who was like, "Man, you've been walking 3 days for 18 to 20 miles. What makes you think you can't walk another 6 days for 18 to 20 miles?" I'm like, I don't know. It's just like my mind that I guess I assumed I was going to take a cab, so I just didn't think I could do this. But I walked like 18 to 20 miles and, quite a few 20-mile days for like, and of course I would, with these German guys who are kind of like, "We're walking, waking up at 6 in the morning." Even that's this guy that I
That's what you
traveled.
needed.
Exactly. He's like, "We should go now." I'm like, what? And he was, I'm like, "Are you timing how long we take for breaks?" He's like, "Well, yeah." so, so the last 9 days I was walking a ton. And then the integration afterwards was really interesting because my body was still like, the next day I was walking like, okay, I gotta walk, and it was like this kind of hardcore when you're kind of like trying to press out 9 days of 20, like you're just like maniacally focused on like getting walking. So the next day I woke up and I was like, okay, I don't have to walk. So it took me probably 5 days of stopping to dream about the Camino. There was one night when I woke up and my feet were moving.
Wow. Sleepwalking in a different way.
I know. So it took me 5 days to like to physically unwind from
Are you
like
still
just
walking?
I am. What I realized is I love walking, and Gideon and I are doing 10-mile walks 3 times a week. So that's kind of our
Awesome.
way to kind of continue the momentum because it's really good. And I lost, I think, probably 4 pounds and like an inch off of like all my measurements. That's not to mention, like I've probably lost like 5 or 6 inches off of my waist alone, which sounds crazy, but
Wow.
that, I mean, you just burn. At the very end of the trip, I don't think I've been as lean as I was since high school. And so at the tail end of the trip, I look like I did body wise, sags and such, but like pretty much I look like I did in
That's
high school.
cool.
Isn't that crazy? So physically, there was a transformation, and integrating was like that. And then also what happened was because I went on the trip with my husband, without my husband, with my husband, what happened was I had time to be alone and figure out what I wanted to do independently of my husband, and he did the same. So when we came back, like we realized, the two of us, like when you come back from a journey like this, when you're by yourself and figuring out what you need physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, friend wise, like everything, you kind of rediscover aspects of yourself that have been dormant, so to speak, right? They've been concealed because they're not really appropriate to really be discovered or something when you have a family. Like when you're in the family mode, it's like heads down, execution, move the family forward. It's like there's lots of love, but there's also a lot of structure and such. But when you're by yourself, it's like, I haven't been by myself since Mir and Gideon. So all of that kind of led us to realize that, like, I think what you can do and what I did when I had kids was I was totally unconscious. Like, I just went and just did what I was supposed to do and the next step and move forward and not really thinking about what do I want? How does it work? But by the time the Camino, when Gideon and I got back together, it's like, I think we just have to decide, do we want to stay together? Like it's kind of a brutal, super courageous question to ask.
Wow.
But I think you have to ask yourself at the end of the trip, like, we're like going into phase three. Phase two is like we're going to stay together. We work really well together. We're good logisticians or whatever. We're good at kind of getting logistics done. We're good as a couple. We're a great partnership. We're a great organization. And then it's like, are we still going to even be together? Like, and if we are together, like, what do you want to see change? Like, and so that was actually an unexpected
So what was the
piece.
answer?
We are going to stay together, but it's kind of, it's one of those things where I think you have to ask yourself, like, are you going to just stay together, or are you just not going to be conscious and just roll into the next stage and keep on operating under the same policies and procedures, so to speak, that you have had operated through your whole last 20 years? What are the new ways that you operate? And then how do you negotiate these things? And when both of us were apart from each other, what we realized is we liked who we were, aspects of who we were that don't show up when the other person's physically there. So
Wow.
what's that all about? Why, like, so I'm much more extroverted when Gideon is not there, because it's kind of not great to have like a really extroverted wife, when you're, it's like, but what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? How do I be extroverted when you're there? Or how do I explore this part of me that's very extroverted, and at the same time not be, disrespectful to our marriage? So it's just all these kinds of things kind of got thrown up into the air and having to be discussed now. And so that's like a big, huge
That's
integration.
cool.
Yeah, and
And I mean,
it's good.
difficult, but cool.
It's really cool because I think what I did when we got married is I was not conscious. And so you just roll into all these patterns and you just continue to do what you think and then you just keep on going because they work. It's like AI, that artificial intelligence with algorithms that you've developed over a long period of time. It's patterns and they work, but then at a certain point they don't work with your new org structure or your new partnership. And it's like, and you don't even know, like, do you really want to be together? Or you, or do 1 + 1 = 3, or is 1 + 1 great under these conditions? And so those were kind of like really brutally hard questions that we were asking ourselves, which I don't think I would have ever gone down that path. I wasn't expecting to go down that path, but there's a huge amount of integration related to just that. It's like, what is the form that my life is going to take right now? And how do my husband and I figure out how we negotiate all these areas of similarities, differences, patterns that we want to let go of? And so there's a whole level of integration like that, which I think actually is probably healthy with any time someone is going through an
Well,
empty nest.
that's my question is, and we get to wrap things up here quickly, but my question is there a way that we can have some experience or some, I call it monkey in the wheel, sorry, monkey, where we can step back enough from our continuous doings to really become, you're saying, in essence, you were becoming the observer of your life. I keep using a ball. I guess if I pull it up in front of the green screen, it's going to disappear. But using a ball recently to demonstrate this is your life, this is your emotion, this is your patterns, and be able to step back and get that breadth or that distance in there so that you can observe it from all angles, because that's what you did. How do we do that when we don't have that opportunity to get on the Camino?
Well, I think actually the description that you had of the wasp that was caught in your cabin. See, the
Yeah,
wasp kept on assuming that it was like the only way up was the way it kept on going, boom, 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 kept on
yeah,
hitting your ceiling, and it was a thing that you actually said that you have to stop. Right when you tripped, you stopped and said,
yeah.
"What the heck is going on?" And I think if you don't have periods of respite and breaks and stopping the habitual patterns and wheels, like I don't think you, and trust me, my husband Gideon and I have been doing this throughout our whole lives. We take long vacations, a 5 month vacation across the world. And so we've had these breaks, which allow us to do these micro adjustments, but like there's macro adjustments that make sense during a certain juncture in your life and that don't make sense to change because they're working for you, right? So I think it's really hard. You have to stop. But then I think to get that big picture, you have to stop for really, like we even stopped for 5 months when we were traveling. And even that wasn't enough. You have to stop, spend time by yourself, be alone, and then get together and then notice what's different. I mean, that's what was different is you really have to have, like I took myself out of the daily habitual patterns. I don't usually walk 19 miles a day, so, and everything was cut off the plate aside from eating. It's like eating, walking, sleeping, eating, walking, sleep. Like that was the only thing I was doing every day. So it's like stop and simplify, I think, are the ways that you get to stop to walk through the portal, as you said, with consciousness.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it was really interesting. At the next show we talk, we will have to tell you a little bit about the process of being in nature and how
Yes.
I'm like the integration I have. I'll talk to you about that next time. But there was a huge integration with just the empty nest piece. That is just huge.
Would love to talk about it. Last thing that I want to ask about, and we can do this rather quickly, but is my guess is after walking 18 to 20 miles a day, if I put a mountain in front of you right now, you would find your way over, around, or through it, no matter what.
I'm pretty damn sure I would. Like when you get to that, like when you're like 9 miles, you're like, I'm moving, I'm doing it, I'm going to go. And then I was like, have I lost all spiritual sense of it? It's like, no, because I think actually, if you actually look, I talked to someone about the 4 chambers of the heart. One is passion. And spirituality is not just about like love, compassion, and it's also about passion and vision and mission and staying on track for something that you love doing. And I think it was interesting. I'll have to talk about that again, like what I saw people doing on the Camino and how sometimes like they fell into old patterns and they lost why they were there. So I'll have to talk to you about that. I'll have it on the list for next time.
All right, I want to go passion. I want to confidence. I want to get a process of being in nature because this we can learn so much from this. And I'm glad it's so new still, but you've been stepping back and looking at it because, I mean, I'm on my Camino with a daily show for 4 years straight. There comes a point with whatever you're doing, if you have repetition and you challenge yourself and you keep going, where your confidence just starts growing and growing. Not a false sense of confidence, a confidence of, well, okay, they're auctioning off our website. This is going to suck, but we will get through it too.
There are points like my conversations with Gideon have been extremely hard, really hard. Think about it. Like you're asking your partner, we've been married together for 24 years, and saying like, okay, like we need to be really clear. Are we going to do this all over again? And if so, what has to change? Like that's the hardest conversation that you can ever imagine having. And I believe one of the most important things, if you want to thrive and grow and prosper individually. So.
And then the question becomes, is there a way to do that even more often? Because now you're talking about having the most conscious, awake and aware relationship where your needs, the trick is anybody listening to the show, yourself, Gideon, we're all empaths. We're very sensitive to our energy and we're givers. We give and we give and we give and we give and we give. And so if we're not very clear of boundaries and what we really want, we end up living someone else's life, or the 1 + 1 = 3, but the 3 isn't actually the number we were looking for. It was actually a 2.7 or a 9.5 or something, but now you're stuck at a 3.
Right. And it's like you've got all these patterns. You're like, well, should I do that? And I think it's like it's important to ask. I mean, it's a hard question, but
scary, but beautiful, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, we will certainly talk more about it, and we have in our own way, as we're approaching, kid time again here, had to ask these questions as well because between you and me, miscarriages, I'm sure, end a lot of marriages, particularly when it's your first child. because you're going, is this a sign? Is this a symbol? Am I supposed to be with this person?
Mm,
On and on and on. What would my life look like? And it is a real point of forcing you to step back and go, whoa.
wow. Oh my. Okay, we got to talk about this in the next show.
So
Oh
no,
my
we're
God.
we're together. We're strong. We're together.
No,
But
I
we've
know.
had to ask a lot of these questions and freak each other out. I think her freaking me out more than the other way around. I love you, Cookie. All right, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler, and
CJ Lou, keeping it real, man. This is these are real conversations.
these are real conversations. Saying, be well, have fun, keep it real in everything you do, and really pause, step back, look at your life from every angle possible. And if you can, do get yourself out. The best I could do this year, which was significant, was throw myself down in Mexico with the Nobel laureates. Going, what the world? And above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.